This is Module 8, Day 4, Take 2. Had little issues. Can you tell with the whiteout? For today, if you are a note taker, these are the 3 new ideas for today. So let's go ahead and get those written down at the start. So pause your video and I'm going to explain these and then make sure you write them down in a way that's reasonable to you. You're going to be finding the equation for what's called the axis of symmetry of the parabola, which is the line down the middle. And that formula is x equals negative b divided by 2 times a. And this comes from the same setup when we use ax squared plus bx plus c, the standard form of a quadratic. The other thing to note is once you know the x for the axis of symmetry, you can then actually use that x number, substitute it into the equation you've been provided for that quadratic, and get the y to go with it. And that is how you get the vertex point, known as the minimum or maximum also. And then on the back side of this sheet, after we do this warm-up review problem, I'll analyze vertex form with you. We've learned standard and factored. We're also going to learn vertex form. So please write down, this is the form where h comma a is the vertex point. So pause the video and write what you need. All right, so hopefully you took some time with that. We're going to analyze this function here at the very top. So we have a function f of x equals x plus 8x plus 12. So the first question, which direction is the parabola facing? Well, because there's no negative in front of that, matter of fact, it's a 1, x to the second, this has to open upward. And if the parabola opens upward, it has a bottom known as a minimum. Question, next one down, what is its factored form? Well, factored means you have to factor it. And I've got the big X going there. Middle number is 8. 1 times 12, or 12 goes in the bottom. And then I'm going to list the factors of 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. And then we ask which one of these pairs can combine to make an 8. And the only one that works using addition is 6 and 2. So I have my 6 and my 2. Everything's positive. So these come out as factors x plus 6. And on this side, x plus 2. Since it's in factored form, I can now identify the zeros, which are also known as the points where it hits the x-axis. So for x plus 6, this value of x would have to be negative 6 to be the solution, or it's 0. So that means the ordered pair, negative 6, 0, is one of the zeros on the parabola. And on this one, it would need a negative 2. So negative 2, 0. What about the y-intercept? That could have been answered actually when it was in standard form. The y-intercept is the point where x is 0. And if you put zeros in for the x's, these become 0, which means the number on the end, in this case 12, is always the y-intercept. And we learned that with standard form. Now comes the new stuff, which I've got this little blue pen here. To find the vertex, first we are going to find the axis of symmetry. And as I had down there in the formula box, negative b over 2a is the formula you use. In the original, a is 1. I'm looking up here, by the way. A is 1, b is 8. And even though we're not going to use c for this one, c is 12. So if something's in standard form, the coefficients from first to second to third position are the a, the b, the c. So negative b over 2a would be negative 8, because that's b over 2 times 1. And if you clean that up, that gives you negative 4. So the axis of symmetry has the equation x equals negative 4. There's a little trick I use for axis of symmetry because a lot of times students know the number, but they forget that it's an equation. This is an equation for a line. If you were to go to negative 4 on the x-axis and dot every single point on the y at x is negative 4, it makes that vertical line. So this is actually important. Without the x equals, it means nothing. The word axis has those components. It says x is, and that's what this says in math. X is, or x equals. Second new concept, find the vertex. Okay, according to my little notes box, to find the vertex, use the x you found and substitute to get the y. So this f of x means y. So y equals, and now I'm going to take this -4 and put it back up in here, carefully using substitution. I do parentheses around the x's, so -4 squared plus 8 times -4 plus 12. So all I did was put -4 into the original, and now I'm going to use my order of operations correctly and solve. So I'm going to square that, which gives me into 16. Note that if you use a calculator and all you do is put -4 squared, it's going to tell you it's -16, but that's because you used the calculator incorrectly. You are squaring all of the x, so make sure you put parentheses around that if you're using a calculator and not thinking about it. 8 times -4 is -32, and then we have this 12, and now we're just going to move left to right. 16 minus 32 is -16, plus 12 is -4. So this ends up being a vertex of -4, which was the x, and coincidentally -4 for the y. I believe we now have enough points to graph this thing, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to sketch it. So -4, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the vertex. We also have -6 and -2 on the x-axis for zeros. -2, -6. And one more, we have the y-intercept at 0, -12, which I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, I'm going to have to go off the graph a little bit. It would be up there. So now, just carefully sketch it. Try to make the bottom look sort of rounded and not like a V, because when you graph a V like this, that's an absolute value graph. Parabolas always have a bit of a curve. Review. Domain, range at the, domain. We're not going to do domain. We're going to do domain when they increase and decrease, and we're going to do the range. So this one has a minimum. So the domain is everything that y is from that minimum and upward, because it's opening up. The bottom point is at -4. So the range, this parabola exists where y is greater than or equal to that -4. Where this line is drawn and above it is what that's saying. Domain of the parabola at its increase. So the axis of symmetry is that line going down the middle. This parabola is increasing on the right. So x is at -4, and it's increasing as the parabola increases as well. So the increase is where x is greater than -4. Therefore, the decrease, which is on the other side, has to be where it's less than -4. Those are review concepts.